JDs and Lentilmen, it is time to turn on the heat for 2024. Today is November 22nd, 2024. I usually don't wait this long, but we've had some warmer weather, and that ended kind of yesterday, was about the last day of that. So now we're going to be in the 50s maybe. Going forward, so it's cold. It's been cold in the house for a while, but not that cold. It's been tolerable. Right now it's 63 in here, so it's cold, but not that cold. But it's definitely high time because it's only getting colder out from here, and you know how that goes. So we've waited long enough. Meanwhile, we've been getting by with the electric heaters. I got a whole series of those. You could see the links to that in the prescription, along with many of the tools and other things that I'm going to use here. So first thing I got to do, I got to get the bucket and the other stuff out of here. On top of the boiler, I got to clean that off. I just store the stuff there, and yeah, it sits there all winter. It's just fine, but I like to clean the boiler first. So we're going to do that. To clean the boiler, I'm going to start with my IBM service vacuum. Again, there's a link in the prescription to that. And we're just going to vacuum all of the dust off of the unit. It just gathers over the summer months and when it's not in use. So I like to dust it off first, because otherwise you get that burning dust smell and it's just not that great. So we're going to clean that up, but we need to power it first. And an excellent place to plug that in is the boiler outlet right up here. Now, that never used to exist, but after Hurricane Sandy hit 12 years ago, more than that, I don't remember exactly when. After Hurricane Sandy hit and I was left without heat and without power, I said it would be nice if I could power the boiler separately. So it's as easy as simply unplugging that. This wire powers the boiler right there. So now I have an outlet here, but that outlet is currently off for the season. So here is the switch for it, complete with a vintage Lilco cover plate. And that's from God knows when. We'll go ahead and kick that on. Nice old click switch. And now that outlet has power. That way you could shut the boiler off if there's any problem. That's why they put it at the top of the steps here. They say that something like a hall light or something like that should always be on that same breaker. So that way, without going downstairs, in the event the boiler happens to trip the breaker, you can turn on the hall light. And obviously if it doesn't go on, you'll know that that outlet is tripped. Whether my house is wired that way, it might, I don't know. It's just kind of there. It's on whatever circuit it's on. Incidentally, this boiler is a hydronic boiler. It's not a furnace like many of you may have. It's a boiler. It heats water and pumps that around through pipes to radiators throughout the house and circulates the hot water there where it gives up the heat into the room, and that's how it heats. That's what was used here in the Northeast for many years, and they don't do that kind anymore because the cost of copper is ridiculous. And yeah, there's PEX and all that, but just, you know, in building a new house, they put these uber efficient furnaces that also have heat pumps and air conditioners and all that crazy shit that is just ridiculous nowadays. This boiler this year has turned 50 years old. You're not supposed to have a boiler that long. It's still sort of working. There's some sort of leak down there. You can kind of see the rusty looking puddle there. It's not a puddle, it just gathers rust. All of the gaskets on this boiler are kind of starting to leak. They're all rock hard and all need to be replaced, and I've done that a couple times already, and I don't look forward to doing it again, but one day it's going to be time again. But it's high time to start cleaning, so let's vacuum. So the idea is to just sort of hit everything, so let's go. All right, vacuuming is complete, and now we're going to go on to compressed air. And buried here under this box of just old bags, grocery store bags that we can't have in New York anymore, is the old Coleman 6-gallon air compressor. Had a series on that many years ago. Hooked up to that you can't really, well, you can, the orange line there. That runs down to the other end of the basement there. So we're going to go ahead and see if this will fire up. It's 63. I did just use it yesterday, so it should work. Oh yeah, no problem. All right, I'm pretty much going to hit this with compressed air for anything that I missed using my Harbor Freight long blowgun. There's a video on that in the prescription. And the Harbor Freight remnant air hose that it's hooked up to that you can't see. Let's go. Hi, I'm down here now. We are going to now clean out the inside. I don't like doing this part. First thing, we have a flame guard that just kind of picks up and falls out. I wish I would have looked to see where it goes, because I can't remember and I can't see. Pilot is lit. I leave it lit year-round because you're going to have trouble if you don't. There's cobwebs and all kinds of great stuff in there. So we're going to take the blowgun and blow in there, and then we're going to blow the burners themselves to clear any crap on those. Inevitably, in doing so, the pilot is going to go out. So I have Mr. Sparky over here. China sent this years ago. So we have that at the ready. And using a blowgun that is way too long for the job. Actually, before I do that, there's a little dust bunny there I could just clear by hand. And yeah, there's all kinds of stuff here. So let's sort of just kind of go in here and some bunnies down here and that. Some here I want to just clear by hand. Let's get everything away from the fire. Kind of the idea. There's a big dust bunny in there. And I'll shoot some air in the burner tubes. We'll see what happens. So we're pretty well all good. I'll let the compressor cycle out, and now we're going to blow on the burners, and again that usually blows out the pilot. There we go. You know, not for nothing, I think we're pretty good. Let me just see if I could hit that one little... Yeah, I think that looks pretty good right there. So we'll get that out of the way. Alright, I mean, we'll put the flame guard back. Like I said, I don't know where it goes and I can't see. I always mean to get a light, but I never do. I think it just sits on top of that. Yeah, that's it. That wasn't bad. Okay, good. I think we're in good shape here. So with all that, we are actually ready to fire this up, but not quite yet, is one of the things I like to do first. I wish I could look straight at the camera, but my neck just doesn't turn that way. Here I have my Ament, I think it is, air quality meter. It's resetting right now. When that gets to 120, it'll be ready. But first thing I want to do, now these gauges I put on, they're in Celsius, and that's reading, just over 24, just about, something like that. I'm not really sure. Somewhere in there. The bottom line is this pipe is warm, and that's because the pilot is there and has been heating the water that's been sitting kind of in the tank part of the boiler, in the belly of it, if you will. And that's just been heating. So that water is warm, not hot, of course. But now what we're going to do is plug in the boiler, and because it's so cold in the house, the thermostats are calling for heat, so both circulator pumps I have are going to start at the same time. Here we go. There were 2 clangs, and now I'm going to feel this pipe over here. I don't know if the gauge will show, but right now it's hot and actually getting a little hotter, and now it's getting cool because all the cold water in all of the pipes is getting circulated around. We'll go here to the basement, and that I am feeling warmth now, so that zone is good. So we've circulated that water, and back over here, that's ice cold. It's got a much longer run on that. So we'll just wait. And I don't know if you can read the gauge. I think my arm is in the way. It's definitely below 20. There he goes. Now it's starting to get warm. So that means that the circulators are working and are doing their thing. I have a little tiny green light on that, as well as on this one. I installed those a number of years ago. There's a link in the prescription to that as well. Just a handy thing to have, so I know which zone is calling for heat. And usually it's the basement, but hey, it is what it is. So it just does its thing, and that's that, and that lets me know, just having a light that you otherwise wouldn't know is there. The pipe coming out of the boiler is a lot cooler. The gauge hasn't really registered that, although I think it went down a little bit. They don't move much because it's Celsius, and the reason that that is the case is because the Fahrenheit ones cost a lot more. But you can just do a quick math. The actual equation is 1.8 C plus 32. So 1.8 times what it reads, we'll call it 20 because it's just about there. I don't know what 1.8 times 20 is, but 2 times 20 is 40, plus 32 is 72. Knock off, 4 degrees or so, 68. We'll call it about there. I'm just guessing on that. It's pretty close. At this point, I like to let it sit and just let everything chooch for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and fire it up. Now my little meter here, the battery in it doesn't work anymore. So I got a USB battery bank on it, and hopefully that won't work. So we can die of carbon monoxide. That'll be nice. We have next to no pressure in the boiler. Temperature is, I can't read it. And it's there. This little gizmo is called a hydrostat. So right now, like I said, the thermostats are calling for heat, so the circulators are on. The hydrostat controls the burner. It senses the temperature of the water, and if it senses the water is too cold, it says, okay, turn the burner on. And that'll turn on, and it'll keep burning until it said, okay, the water's hot enough, shut it off. And then it'll shut the burner off. But the whole cycle will continue the entire time until the thermostats are satisfied. That's all there is to it. Nothing. It's a very, very simple boiler. There's really nothing to it. Nothing to worry about. I love the standing pilot because it's just there. There's no flame proof. There's no sensors, hot surface igniter, nothing. That'll change when I have to get a new boiler, but I think it's about high time that we go ahead and fire this up. So right over here is the valve for the gas, which is currently in the pilot position. We're going to turn that on, and the burner should fire. If there's any problem, I'm going to turn that right back, and then we'll have an oh shit moment. Here we go. Right on. Now the flame looks orange right now. That's going to clear out. It'll turn blue in a little bit of time, but it's on and running. So now we're playing the waiting game. That's not to be confused with the dating game or the newlywed game. This is the waiting game, and that's what we do. We have damn near next to no pressure in the boiler, and I can't read the temperature, but we gotta wait while this cooks up all the water. Now it's got some pretty chilly water in there because it's cold in the house. Thermostat upstairs said 61, so it's time. You can hear some expansion going on as this goes, and everything is going just fine. So we're going to let it go and let it cook and let it do its thing, and when this reaches around 190-ish, the hydrostat will be satisfied and turn the burner off, and it'll stay off for an indeterminate period of time, at which point it says, okay, water's too cold, turn the burner back on, and it'll fire up, and the cycle will continue to repeat. So we're just going to wait, and I'll come back when we might be getting close. While we wait, I'm going to be watching this top number, which is carbon monoxide, which is reading damn near next to nothing. And that's what I want to see, because if that number goes up, it's very bad news. And that would indicate probably a chimney blockage, but that hasn't happened yet, so we're good. So that's rolling. The boiler's still chooching. It's got sort of a rattle to it. I think it was doing that last year. I don't know what that noise is, but it's old, so it can rattle. You can see we have a nice blue flame now. Yeah, the tips of it are orange, and I don't know, but here's the burner tubes. They have shutters, as you can see, that can be moved. I did play with those once years ago, and it didn't make anything better or worse, so I just left them where they were. Things are coming along. It's definitely higher than it was before. I felt the main pipe coming out of the boiler, and that's getting nice and hot. I felt the basement zone because I can't reach the other one, and that's nice and hot. So chances are good that everything is working, and certainly the gauges have gone up. They're reading about 30 C that I can tell. The main zone is more about 28, but that's kind of to be expected because it has a higher load on it. We'll just sit and wait. Well, we're coming into the home stretch. We're over 180 and getting close to 190. All of the numbers look great. CO is at 5. That's fine. not reading anything specific, you know, that's any kind of danger. The gauges, we're looking about 46 on the basement and close to that on the main zone, and just about 50 on the main pipe. So that's about right. Again, I don't know when it's going to happen exactly. It's set around 190. You can adjust the hydrostat, and I had done that years ago and turned it up. I think I've turned it down a little bit since then, but basically it gets the water up to whatever temperature that you set it to, and I found running it too hot is not the greatest idea because that tends to degrade the gaskets on the pumps. While they are brittle and cracked, I don't see any active drips, so that's an excellent thing. And sometime this will shut off. It's still got a little while because we haven't quite hit 190 yet, but it's getting there. It takes a solid 10 minutes or so for it to really get up to temperature. You can see the pressure at the top has increased. It really doesn't go much. I learned that early on. You don't want to run it too high, and I couldn't quite get the answer from Google. I know how to use that, but nobody really had the information that I needed as far as what pressure it should be reading. It's actually a very low pressure. I finally found that information many years later, so the pressure has been a lot lower since then. I think that also leads to early demise of everything. So yeah, I fucked up in past years, but hey, it's been corrected and it doesn't show any signs. The weird rattly noise has gone away. That's good. And there we go. The burner has shut off. You can hear the water sizzling and making like boily sounds and stuff like that in the boiler, because it's a boiler. Everything is going to sit here, and it won't be very long, maybe about only a minute or so before the burner fires back up. Although that water is still pretty hot. Temperatures were over 50 C on these two pipes and over 50 on the main zone, so things are looking very good. The water is calmed down. CO is at 9. And that changes as I speak because of the carbon monoxide and that. And the way these things work, these crappy little sensors, you know, they're not that great. But at least it'll give me an idea if I'm going to die or not. So that's all I have to worry about. And everything is just going to sit here, and eventually the burner is going to automatically refire. So we'll wait for that. And there you go. Burner is back on, and like I said, that cycle will repeat again and again until the thermostat is satisfied, which is going to be hours because of how cold it is in the house. Thermostat stands for thermo is temperature, and stat means remains the same. So I don't touch the thermostats. I don't play the Google Nest game or any of that bullshit. I leave everything well enough alone. And the thermostats keep the temperature the same. That's the point. I don't need to lower it when I leave the house, only to come into a cold house. I also don't really leave the house that much, because I don't have a need to, so there's no point in turning it down either. But there you go. The heat is on. Carbon monoxide still looks great. It'll jump around a bit, but again, it's not going to go into any kind of danger zone. Temperature over here, you can do the conversion if you can read an analog dial. Basement zone, looking good. And the main zone is also looking good. So I don't know how long this old girl has, but it's lasted way beyond its regular expected lifespan. That's perfectly fine with me. When it goes, I'll have to replace it, but for now, keeps the house nice and warm, and even does alright on those really cold days. Now that the heat is on, the pussy kittens are going to be nice and warm. The whiff will stop complaining, so all around, that made for a very nice thing for me. That's all I got. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.